The music pulsed through the crowded bar, a heartbeat of bass and desire, as I stumbled through the haze of neon lights and laughter. My hand brushed against a stranger's chest firm, warm, alive, and I froze, my breath catching as his piercing blue eyes met mine. In that fleeting second, I forgot the chaos of my life, the layoffs looming at work, and the weight of being a gay man in a world that still judged. I was Ethan Carter, 28, a graphic designer scraping by in New York City, where dreams cost more than rent. That night, I'd come to the Rusty Anchor, a dive bar in the East Village, to drown my anxieties in cheap whiskey and the thrum of strangers' voices. My best friend, Mia, had dragged me out, insisting I needed to live a little after my breakup with Josh 6 months ago. Josh, who'd called me too emotional before walking out. I was done with love, or so I thought, until that accidental touch sparked something reckless in me. The stranger didn't pull away. Instead, he leaned closer, his lips curling into a half-smile that made my stomach flip. "You always this forward?" he asked, his voice low, teasing, with a hint of an accent I couldn't place. He was older, maybe mid-30s, with sharp cheekbones and a jawline that could cut glass. His tailored jacket screamed money, but his eyes held a warmth that felt dangerously inviting. "Icery," I stammered, my face burning. "Crowded bar." My hand slipped. "Sure it did," he said, amusement dancing in his gaze. He introduced himself as Liam. No last name, just Liam, like a secret he wasn't ready to share. We talked, or rather, I rambled about my job at Horizon Media, the tech startup teetering on the edge of collapse, about the city's relentless grind, about everything but the ache in my chest. Liam listened, his attention unwavering, like I was the only person in the room. He shared little about himself, only that he was in town for business and liked the bar's vibe. His vagueness should have been a red flag, but the whiskey and his smile dulled my caution. Hours blurred into a haze of laughter and stolen glances. Mia winked at me from across the bar, her mission to get me out of my shell clearly accomplished. Then, as the crowd thinned and the bartender called last orders, Liam's hand grazed mine. It wasn't an accident. My pulse raced as he leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. "Want to get out of here?" he asked. I should have said no. I was still raw from Josh, still wary of strangers with charm that felt too good to be true. But something in Liam's eyes' vulnerability beneath the confidence pulled me in. "Yeah," I said, my voice barely audible over the music. We stepped into the cool night air, the city alive with possibility, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. We ended up at a 24-hour diner a few blocks away, the kind with sticky tables and coffee that tasted like regret. Over greasy fries and endless refills, we talked about everything and nothing, our favorite books, the way New York felt like a lover who never called back, the dreams we'd buried under practicality. Liam's wit was sharp, but his laughter was soft, unguarded. He didn't push, didn't pry, but every time our knees brushed under the table, my heart stuttered. By 3 a.m., we were back on the street, standing under a flickering streetlight. The air between us crackled with unspoken want. "I should go," I said, but my feet didn't move. Liam stepped closer, his hand brushing my cheek, and before I could overthink it, I kissed him. It was hungry, desperate, like I'd been starving for something I couldn't name. He kissed me back, his hand steady on my waist, and for a moment, the world was just us two strangers stealing a piece of something real. "I'll see you around, Ethan," he said when we finally pulled apart, his voice soft but certain. He walked away, disappearing into the city's glow, and I stood there, heart pounding, wondering if I'd just made the best or worst decision of my life. The next morning, I dragged myself to Horizon Media's office in Midtown, nursing a hangover and a head full of Liam. The office buzzed with nervous energy. Rumors of a new CEO had been swirling for weeks. Our old boss, a micromanaging disaster named Greg, had been ousted after tanking a major deal, and the company was bleeding money. My job, my team's jobs, hung in the balance. I slumped into my cubicle, staring at my latest design project, a sleek app interface that probably wouldn't see the light of day if the company folded. Mia, who worked in marketing, slid into the chair beside me, her eyes gleaming with gossip. Heard the new CEO, some hotshot from Chicago, she said. Young, ruthless, and apparently gorgeous. Think we're saved or screwed? I shrugged, my mind still on Liam's smile. Doesn't matter. If we're lucky, we'll keep our jobs another month. At 10 a.m., the entire staff was herded into the conference room for the big reveal. I stood in the back, sipping burnt coffee, half listening as the board chair droned on about new leadership and bold visions. Then the door opened, and my heart stopped. Liam walked in. Not Bar Liam, with his easy grin and casual charm, but Liam in a crisp navy suit, every inch the corporate titan. His eyes scanned the room, landing on me for a split second before moving on. Expression unreadable. The board chair introduced him as Liam Caldwell, our new CEO, the man tasked with saving Horizon Media from ruin. My coffee cup slipped from my hand, splashing across the floor. Mia grabbed my arm, whispering, "What the hell, Ethan?" I couldn't answer. The man I'd kissed under a streetlight, the man whose touch still lingered on my skin, was my new boss. And I had no idea what he'd do when he realized who I was. The conference room felt like a pressure cooker, the air thick with whispers and the weight of Liam's presence. I stood frozen, my pulse hammering as his gaze flicked over the crowd. Professional, detached, nothing like the man who'd laughed with me over diner fries. My mind replayed last night, his lips, his hands, the way he'd said my name like it mattered, and now he was here. Liam Caldwell, the CEO who held my future in his hands. I ducked behind a coworker, hoping to blend into the sea of anxious faces. Mia nudged me, her eyes wide. "You look like you've seen a ghost. What's going on?" I shook my head, unable to form words. "How do you explain that the stranger you kissed last night is now your boss? That the guy you groped in a bar might decide whether you keep your job?" Liam stepped to the podium, his voice steady, commanding. "Horizon Media is at a crossroads," he said, his words slicing through the room's nervous hum. "We've got talent, potential, but we're bleeding cash. I'm here to fix that, but it won't be easy. I need everyone on board or out the door." His eyes swept the room again, and I swore they lingered on me, a flicker of recognition that sent my stomach into freefall. The meeting ended with a call for one-on-one evaluations with key staff. My name was on the list. Of course it was. As the room cleared, I lingered, pretending to check my phone, praying Liam wouldn't notice me. But as the last stragglers left, he called out, "Ethan Carter, stay back a moment." Mia shot me a look that screamed spill later before slipping out. The door clicked shut, leaving me alone with Liam. He leaned against the conference table, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "So," he said, his voice low, "you work here?" I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. "Yeah." Small world. My attempt at nonchalance sounded pathetic even to me. Liam's lips twitched. Not quite a smile. "Smaller than you think." He stepped closer, and I caught a whiff of his cologne, the same scent that had lingered on my skin last night. "You didn't mention you worked for Horizon. You didn't mention you were the new CEO." I shot back, my nerves fraying. "What was last night, Liam? Some game?" His jaw tightened, And for a moment, I saw the man from the bar vulnerable. Real. It wasn't a game. Ethan, I didn't know who you were. I was just me, for once. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so human it disarmed me. I don't mix personal and professional. Ever. Last night was a mistake. The word mistake hit like a punch. I wanted to argue, to tell him it didn't feel like a mistake when he kissed me back. But the weight of the situation crushed my courage. He was my boss. One wrong move, and I'd be out of a job. My dreams of making it in New York gone. I get it, I said, my voice flat. Won't happen again. I turned to leave, but his hand caught my wrist. Gentle but firm. Ethan, wait. His touch sent a jolt through me, and I hated how much I wanted to lean into it. This doesn't change what happened. But we need boundaries. I'm here to save this company. And I can't, he stopped, his eyes searching mine. I can't let anything get in the way. I pulled my wrist free, nodding. Understood. Mr. Caldwell. The formal name felt like a wall between us, and I saw something flicker in his eyes. Regret. Maybe. I walked out, my heart a tangled mess of anger and longing. The rest of the day was a blur. I buried myself in work, tweaking designs, ignoring Mia's relentless texts demanding details. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Liam's face, heard his voice saying mistake. By 5 p.m., I was drained, ready to escape to my tiny apartment and forget the day. Then an email pinged, meeting with Liam Caldwell. 6 p.m. Sharp. One-on-one. The office was nearly empty when I knocked on his door. Liam was at his desk, papers scattered, his tie loosened like he'd been fighting a war with spreadsheets. Come in, he said without looking up. I sat, my hands clenched in my lap, waiting for the axe to fall. He finally met my eyes, and the air shifted, charged with everything we weren't saying. Your portfolio, he said, sliding a tablet across the desk. It's good. Really good. Your designs could be the key to rebranding Horizon, but you're playing it safe. Why? I blinked, caught off guard. Safe keeps me employed, I said. This place is a mess. I can't afford to take risks and lose my job. Liam leaned forward, his intensity pinning me in place. Safe won't save this company. Ethan, I need you to step up, to show me what you're capable of. Can you do that? It wasn't just about work. His words felt personal, like a challenge to the part of me that had played it safe since Josh, since every rejection that had chipped away at my confidence. I can try, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Good. He stood, signaling the meeting was over. But as I reached the door, he added, and Ethan, last night, it wasn't nothing. But it can't be something. Not now. I nodded, my throat tight, and left his office. The city outside was a blur of lights and noise, but all I could think about was Liam's touch, his words, and the impossible line we were trying to walk. I didn't know if I could keep my distance, or if I even wanted to. But one thing was clear, Liam Caldwell was going to turn my world upside down, and I wasn't sure I was ready for it. The next week was a tightrope walk. Every glance from Liam in meetings felt like a spark. Every brusque Carter. Update. A reminder of the wall he'd built between us. I threw myself into my designs, pushing boundaries like he'd asked. But my mind kept drifting to that night, his lips, his laugh, the way he'd looked at me like I was more than just another face in the crowd. Horizon Media was a pressure cooker. Layoff rumors swirled, and Liam's no-nonsense approach didn't help. He was ruthless, slashing budgets, demanding results, but there was a method to it. He saw potential where others saw failure, and despite my resentment, I admired it. Mia, ever the optimist, kept me grounded. He's hot, and he's saving our asses, she said over lunch one day. Maybe he's not the enemy. He's my boss, I muttered, stabbing at my salad. And he called last night a mistake. Mia raised an eyebrow. Did he, though? Or did he just say it can't happen again? There's a difference, Ethan. I didn't want to hear it. I couldn't afford to hope. Not when my job and my heart were on the line. But Liam made it hard. He'd stop by my desk, asking about my progress. His tone professional, but his eyes lingering just a second too long. Each interaction was a test, and I wasn't sure if I was passing or failing. One evening, I stayed late, refining a pitch for a new client. The office was quiet, the city's glow filtering through the windows. I didn't hear Liam approach until he was leaning against my cubicle, arms crossed, burning the midnight oil. He asked, his voice softer than usual. Trying to keep my job, I said, not looking up. My hands trembled as I saved my work, hyper-aware of his presence. He didn't leave. Instead, he pulled up a chair, sitting closer than necessary. Your designs are bold, Ethan. They're exactly what we need. But you're holding back in meetings. Why? I met his gaze, my frustration bubbling over. Maybe because I'm distracted. Maybe because my boss kissed me and then told me it was a mistake. His jaw clenched, but he didn't look away. I didn't say it was a mistake because I didn't want it. I said it because I have to be the guy who saves this company, not the guy who he stopped. Exhaling sharply. You think this is easy for me? I laughed, bitter. You're the CEO? You call the shots. I'm just trying to survive. Liam leaned closer, his voice low, urgent. You think I don't feel it? The way you look at me, the way I can't stop thinking about you. But I've got a board breathing down my neck, investors ready to pull out, and 100 employees counting on me. I can't afford to screw this up. His honesty disarmed me. For the first time, I saw the weight he carried, the man behind the suit. Then why are you here, Liam? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Why not just stay away? Because I can't, he said, his eyes locked on mine. I keep telling myself to keep my distance. But then I see you. And he trailed off, his hand brushing the edge of my desk, inches from mine. The air crackled, the space between us a live wire. I wanted to close the gap, to kiss him again, to hell with the consequences. But the weight of reality held me back. Me job, his position, the risk of it all crashing down. We can't, I said, echoing his words from the diner. I know, he said, but he didn't move. We sat there, caught in a moment too fragile to hold, until he finally stood, his expression unreadable. Get some rest, Ethan. We've got a big pitch tomorrow. He left, and I sat there, staring at my screen, my heart pounding. I was falling for him, and it terrified me. Not just because he was my boss, but because I knew how this ended heartbreak, just like with Josh. But Liam wasn't Josh. He was something else entirely, and that made it worse. The next day, the client pitch was a disaster. The team was unprepared, rattled by Liam's high expectations, and I fumbled my presentation, my mind still on our late-night conversation. Liam didn't call me out, but his silence was worse. After the clients left, he gathered the team, his voice cold. We're better than this. Step up, or step out. I felt the sting, but I couldn't argue. I'd let him down, let myself down. As the team dispersed, Mia pulled me aside. You're spiraling, Ethan. Talk to him. Clear the air. I can't, I said, my voice tight. He's made it clear where we stand. But that night, as I left the office, Liam was waiting by the elevator. "We need to talk," he said, his tone leaving no room for argument. I followed him to a quiet corner of the lobby, my heart in my throat. "I'm sorry about the pitch," I started, but he cut me off. "This isn't about the pitch." His eyes burned with intensity. "It's about us. I can't keep pretending I don't feel something. But I need to know, can you handle this? Working with me, knowing what we could be, but keeping it professional." I wanted to say yes, to promise I could compartmentalize. But the truth was messier. "I don't know," I admitted. "But I want to try." He nodded, a flicker of relief in his eyes. "Then we try. Together." It wasn't a promise of love, but it was something, a fragile thread of hope in a world that felt ready to unravel. Trying to keep things professional with Liam was like trying to hold water in my hands. It kept slipping through, no matter how hard I gripped. Every meeting, every glance, every accidental brush of his hand against mine in the break room set my nerves on fire. I threw myself into my work, redesigning Horizon's branding with a ferocity I didn't know I had. But the tension between us was a constant hum, impossible to ignore. Liam was relentless, pushing the team to innovate, to fight for every client. He was good. In 2 weeks, he'd secured a major investor, staving off layoffs for now. The office buzzed with cautious optimism, but I couldn't shake the feeling that my world was on a knife's edge. I wanted him, and the more I tried to bury it, the stronger it grew. One Friday, he called me into his office to review my latest designs. The room was dim, the city skyline glittering through the window. "These are exceptional," he said, scrolling through my mock-ups. "You're not playing it safe anymore." "Thanks," I said, my voice tight. He was close, too close, his shoulder brushing mine as he leaned over the tablet. I could feel the heat of him, the pull that made me want to forget every rule we'd set. "Ethan," he said, his voice low, "you're making this hard." "Me?" I laughed. "Sharp. You're the one standing an inch away." He stepped back, running a hand through his hair. "You're right. I'm sorry." But his eyes said he wasn't sorry at all. "We're presenting to the board next week. Your designs are the centerpiece. Don't let me down." "I won't," I said, but the words felt hollow. I was already letting myself down, letting my feelings for him cloud everything. That weekend, I tried to clear my head. Mia dragged me to a queer art exhibit in Brooklyn, hoping to pull me out of my funk. "You're obsessed with him," she said as we wandered through abstract sculptures. "Either do something about it or let it go." "I can't do anything," I snapped. "He's my boss, and he's made it clear it's not happening." "Then why does he look at you like you're the only person in the room?" she countered. I had no answer. Mia was right. Liam's restraint was cracking, and so was mine. Monday brought the board presentation. I stood in the conference room, my designs projected on the screen, my heart pounding as Liam introduced me. "Ethan's work is the future of Horizon," he said, his voice steady but his eyes locked on mine. I presented, my voice stronger than I felt, and the board ate it up. Applause followed, a rare win in a company used to failure. After, Liam caught me in the hallway. "You nailed it," he said, his smile genuine. "I knew you could." "Thanks for the push," I said, my guard slipping. We were alone, the office quiet, and for a moment, it felt like the bar again, just us. No titles, no rules. "Ethan," he started, then stopped, his hand hovering near mine. "I'm trying so hard to do the right thing." "Then stop trying," I said before I could stop myself. His eyes widened, and for a heartbeat, I thought he'd kiss me. But then his phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He glanced at it, his face hardening. I have to go, he said. His voice clipped. Board's calling. He walked away, leaving me breathless and furious with myself. The next day, I overheard whispers in the break room, rumors about Liam's past. A failed startup in Chicago. A messy breakup with a guy who'd worked for him. It hit too close to home. Was I just repeating his mistakes? Was he? I confronted him that evening, cornering him in his office. Is it true? I asked. About Chicago. About someone like me. Liam's face closed off, but he didn't deny it. It was different, he said. He wasn't you. And I wasn't the man I am now. What does that even mean? I pressed. Am I just some fling you'll regret when it blows up? No, he said, his voice fierce. You're not a fling. He stopped, exhaling sharply. I don't know what you are, Ethan. But you're under my skin, and it's killing me. His words hung between us, raw and unguarded. I wanted to push, to demand more, but the fear of losing everything me job. My heart held me back. Then figure it out, I said, my voice breaking. Because I can't keep doing this. I walked out, my chest tight, knowing we were running out of time to decide what we were to each other. The company was stabilizing, but my world was anything but. Liam Caldwell was a storm, and I was caught in the eye, waiting for the inevitable crash. The weeks that followed were a slow burn. Liam and I danced around each other, professional in meetings, but electric in stolen moments, his hand lingering on a report I handed him, my breath catching when he smiled. I was falling, hard, and every day felt like a step closer to disaster. Horizon Media was stabilizing, my designs gaining traction, but my heart was a battlefield, torn between desire and self-preservation. One night, I stayed late again, tweaking a campaign for a new client. The office was a ghost town, the only sound the hum of my computer. I didn't hear Liam until he was behind me, his voice soft. You're killing it, Ethan. The clients love your work. I turned, startled, my heart racing at his proximity. Thanks, I said, my voice rough. Just doing my job. He didn't move, his eyes searching mine. You're doing more than that. You're saving this place, whether you know it or not. The praise warmed me, but it also stung. And you? What are you doing, Liam? Besides driving me crazy. He laughed, a low, rueful sound. I'm trying to keep this company afloat and not lose my mind over you. He stepped closer, his hand brushing my arm. I'm failing at both. My breath hitched, and before I could think, I closed the gap, kissing him. It was reckless, desperate, everything we'd been holding back. He kissed me back, his hands cupping my face. And for a moment, the world disappeared. No jobs, no consequences, just us. But reality crashed in. He pulled back, his forehead resting against mine. We can't keep doing this, he whispered. Not here. Not like this. Then where? I asked, my voice shaking. When? I don't know, he admitted, his eyes tormented. But I want to find out. I just need time. Time was the one thing we didn't have. The next day, a bombshell dropped in an anonymous email circulated, hinting at inappropriate conduct between Liam and an employee. It didn't name me, but the implications were clear. The office buzzed with gossip, and I felt eyes on me, judging, speculating. Mia cornered me at lunch. Is this about you too? She asked, her voice low. I don't know. I lied, my stomach churning. It could be anyone. But it wasn't anyone. That afternoon, Liam called me into his office, his face grim. The board's asking questions, he said. They're looking for a reason to push me out. If they find out about us, there is no us, I said, the words tasting like ash. You made that clear. His eyes darkened. That's not what I want, Ethan. But if this gets out, it's not just my job, it's yours, too. I wanted to scream, to tell him I didn't care, but I did. My job was my lifeline, my chance to prove I was more than the small-town kid who'd fled a family that didn't understand him. Losing it would break me. Then we end it, I said, my voice hollow. Whatever this is, it's done. Liam looked like I'd slapped him, but he nodded. If that's what you want. It wasn't, but I walked out anyway, my chest tight with regret. The next few days were torture. Liam kept his distance, his demeanor cold, professional. I buried myself in work, but the rumors grew, fueled by whispers of his past in Chicago. Someone had dug up dirt, and it was only a matter of time before it exploded. Friday brought a company-wide meeting. Liam stood at the front, addressing the rumors head-on. I'm here to save Horizon, not to play games with your trust, he said, his voice steady. If anyone has concerns, come to me directly. We're stronger than gossip. His eyes met mine for a fleeting second, and I saw the weight. He carried the fight to prove himself, to protect us both. I wanted to believe we could make it through, but doubt gnawed at me. What if this was all we'd ever be, a stolen kiss, a whispered promise, a mistake? That night, I went back to the Rusty Anchor, hoping to drown my thoughts in whiskey. But as I sat at the bar, nursing a drink, Liam walked in. He froze when he saw me, then slid onto the stool beside me. Didn't expect to see you here, he said, his voice soft. Needed to escape, I said, staring at my glass. You? Same. He ordered a drink, his fingers brushing mine as he reached for it. Ethan, I'm sorry. For everything. Don't, I said, my throat tight. Just tell me what you want. He looked at me, his eyes raw. You. But I don't know how to make it work without ruining everything. I wanted to kiss him, to tell him we'd figure it out. But the weight of the rumors, the company, our lives held me back. Then we wait, I said, until we know. He nodded, his hand lingering near mine. Until we know, he echoed. But as he left, I couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out, and the choice between love and survival was coming faster than either of us could handle. Waiting was agony. Every day at Horizon felt like navigating a minefield, avoiding Liam's gaze, dodging whispers, pouring my energy into designs that might never see the light of day if the company collapsed. The anonymous email had lit a fuse, and the board was circling, ready to oust Liam if they found proof of inappropriate conduct. I was terrified my name would surface, but more than that, I was terrified of losing him. Liam was different now, guarded, his smiles rare. He threw himself into saving Horizon, securing another client, restructuring teams, but the strain showed in the lines around his eyes. I wanted to reach out, to tell him I was still here, but the risk was too great. So I watched from a distance, my heart aching with every clipped, good work. Carter, he threw my way. Mia was my lifeline, dragging me to coffee shops and dive bars to keep me sane. You're in love with him, she said one night over tacos in the West Village. It's written all over your face. I'm not. I lied, but my voice cracked. It's just complicated. Love's always complicated, she said. But you're both miserable. Do something about it. I wanted to, but every time I saw Liam, the weight of our reality crushed me. He was fighting for his career, for the company, and I was just a graphic designer with too much to lose. Still, the pull between us was undeniable. Late one night, I found him in the office, alone, staring at a spreadsheet like it held the answers to everything. "You're still here," I said, leaning against the doorframe. He looked up, exhaustion etched into his face. "So are you." I stepped inside, closing the door. "You look like you haven't slept in days." He laughed, a tired sound. "I haven't. Too much at stake." His eyes met mine, softer now. "And you're not making it easier." "Me?" I said, my voice sharp. "I'm staying out of your way." "Are you?" He stood, closing the distance between us. "Because every time you're in the room, I can't think straight." My heart pounded, but I held my ground. "You're the one who said we can't." "I know," he said, his voice raw. "But I'm drowning. Ethan. This job, this company, it's everything I've worked for. But you." He reached for my hand, his touch tentative. "You're the only thing that feels real." I let him hold my hand, my resolve crumbling. "Then what do we do?" I asked. "Because I can't keep pretending I don't want you." He didn't answer with words. Instead, he kissed me, slow and deep, like he was pouring everything he couldn't say into it. I kissed him back, my hands gripping his shirt, desperate to hold on to this moment. But the sound of footsteps in the hall broke us apart, our breaths ragged. "We can't keep doing this," I said, echoing his words from weeks ago. "I know," he said, but his eyes said he didn't want to stop. "Meet me tomorrow. Outside the office. We'll figure this out." I nodded, my heart in my throat, and left before I could change my mind. The next night, we met at a quiet cafe in Chelsea, far from the office's prying eyes. Liam looked different out of his suit, in jeans and a sweater, like the man I'd met at the bar. We talked for hours, about our fears, our pasts, the lives we wanted. He told me about Chicago, about the man who'd betrayed his trust, the startup that had cost him everything. I told him about growing up gay in a small town, about the family I'd left behind, the dreams I was afraid to chase. "I don't want to lose you," he said, his hand covering mine. "But I don't know how to keep you without risking everything." "Then we take it slow," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my chest. "No one has to know. Not yet." He nodded, a spark of hope in his eyes. "Slow," he agreed. But as we left the cafe, his hand brushing mine, I knew slow wouldn't be easy. The rumors were still out there, the board still watching, and every step we took together felt like a gamble. Back at work, we were careful, too careful. No lingering looks, no late-night talks. But the tension between us was a live wire, and I wasn't sure how long we could keep it hidden. Then, a week later, the bomb dropped. Another email, this time with photos grainy, but unmistakable. Me and Liam, outside the cafe, our hands touching. The office exploded with gossip. By noon, I was called to HR. The woman behind the desk was cold, her questions relentless. "Is there anything you'd like to disclose about your relationship with Mr. Caldwell?" I lied, my voice steady. "There's nothing to disclose. He's my boss." But the damage was done. The board called an emergency meeting, and Liam was summoned. I sat at my desk, my stomach in knots, as Mia texted me updates. "They're grilling him. It's bad." I wanted to run to him, to tell him I'd stand by him, but fear held me back. What if I lost everything? What if he did? As the day dragged on, I felt the walls closing in, the life I'd built in New York slipping away. And in that moment, I realized I didn't just want Liam, I needed him. But it might already be too late. The office was a battlefield, the air thick with tension as whispers followed me everywhere. The photos had spread like wildfire, and though no one said it to my face, I could feel the judgment in every glance. I kept my head down, working on autopilot, but my mind was on Liam, locked in a boardroom with people who wanted him gone. I'd lied to HR, but the truth was a noose tightening around us both. By late afternoon, Mia slipped into my cubicle, her face grim. "They're voting on whether to fire him," she whispered. "The board thinks he's a liability. Those photos. Someone's out to get you too." "Who?" I asked, my voice hoarse. "Who'd do this?" She shrugged, but her eyes flicked toward Greg's old office, now occupied by a board member who'd never liked Liam. "Doesn't matter who. Matters what you're going to do about it." I didn't know. I wanted to storm the boardroom, to tell them Liam was the best thing to happen to Horizon. But I was just an employee, and my own job was on shaky ground. Instead, I waited, my stomach churning, until Liam emerged from the meeting, his face unreadable. He didn't look at me as he walked to his office, but his door stayed open, a silent invitation. I found him staring out the window, the city sprawling below. "They're giving me a week," he said without turning. "Prove I'm worth keeping, or I'm out." "And us?" I asked, my voice barely audible. He turned, his eyes raw. "I don't know, Ethan. I want you. But this," he gestured to the office, the city, the mess we'd made. "This could destroy us both." "Then let it," I said, surprising myself. "If we're gonna crash, let's crash together." His laugh was bitter, but his eyes softened. "You're braver than me." "I'm not," I said, stepping closer. "I'm terrified. But I'm more terrified of losing you." He reached for me, then stopped, his hand falling. "We can't. Not now. If we're going to survive this, we need to be smarter." He was right, but it hurt. We agreed to keep our distance, to focus on saving his job, my job, the company. But as I left his office, I felt the weight of what we were giving up. Love shouldn't be this hard, but it was, and I didn't know if we'd make it through. The next day, I dug into my work with a vengeance, pulling together a campaign that could win back the board's trust. Liam was everywhere reviewing my designs, strategizing with the team, fighting for Horizon's future. We were careful, professional, but every brush of his hand, every shared glance, was a reminder of what we couldn't have. Then, a break. I found an email buried in my inbox, a draft someone had accidentally sent to a board member plotting with Greg, the old CEO, to sabotage Liam. It was proof, leverage we could use. I showed it to Liam, my hand shaking. "This could save you," I said. He read it, his jaw tight. "Or it could blow everything up. If we use this, they'll know we're digging. They'll come for you next." "I don't care," I said. "You're worth it." He looked at me, his eyes fierce. "You're worth more." We decided to play the card carefully, leaking the email anonymously to a sympathetic board member. It worked. The board turned on Greg's ally, and Liam's position was secured, at least for now. But the victory felt hollow. The photos were still out there, the rumors still swirling, and I knew we couldn't hide forever. That night, Liam asked me to meet him at the diner where we'd gone after the bar. It felt like a lifetime ago. We sat in the same booth, the same sticky table, but the air between us was heavier now. "I'm staying," he said, his voice low. "The board's backing me. But I can't keep you in the crossfire." "What are you saying?" I asked, my heart sinking. "I'm saying you deserve better than this, than sneaking around, than risking your job for me." He reached for my hand, his touch warm. "I love you, Ethan. But I can't ask you to do this." The words hit like a tidal wave. I love you. I'd felt it, known it, but hearing it broke something in me. "You don't get to decide that," I said, my voice shaking. I love you too. And I'm not walking away. He looked at me, torn, but didn't pull his hand away. Then we fight, he said. Together. We left the diner hand in hand, the city alive around us. For the first time, I felt like we had a chance not just to survive, but to build something real. But the fight wasn't over, and I knew the hardest battles were still to come. Fighting together sounded noble, but it was messy, raw, and terrifying. The leaked email had bought Liam time, but the board was still watching, and the rumors about us hadn't died. Every day at Horizon was a balancing act, keeping up appearances, delivering killer designs, and stealing moments with Liam that felt like stolen breaths. We were careful, meeting outside the office, keeping our texts vague, but the tension was a constant weight. I threw myself into my work, channeling my fear into creativity. My latest campaign, bold, inclusive rebrand for Horizon, caught the eye of a major client, and the office buzzed with hope. Liam was a force, rallying the team, securing deals, proving he was the leader we needed. But every victory came with a cost. The more successful we were, the more scrutiny we faced. One evening, as we worked late on a pitch, Liam broke our rule. He kissed me in the copy room, quick and desperate, like he couldn't hold back anymore. "I'm sorry," he said, pulling away. I needed that." "Don't be sorry," I said, my heart racing. "But we have to be smarter." He nodded, but the hunger in his eyes mirrored mine. We were playing with fire, and we both knew it. The next day, another email dropped, this one naming me directly, accusing me of sleeping my way into favor. The office went quiet when I walked in, eyes avoiding mine. Mia was furious, ready to hunt down the source, but I felt exposed, raw, like my life was unraveling. Liam called me into his office, his face pale. "I'm handling this," he said. "HR's investigating. We'll find out who's behind it." "And then what?" I asked, my voice breaking. "They're not wrong, Liam. We're something." He stood, closing the distance between us. "You're not just something. You're everything." His words were a lifeline, but they couldn't erase the fear. "I'm not letting them take you down." That night, we met at his apartment, a sleek loft in Tribeca that felt worlds away from my cramped studio. We didn't talk about work, or rumors, or the company. We just held each other, the city humming outside, and for the first time, I let myself believe we could make it. The next morning, the truth came out. HR traced the emails to Greg, the former CEO, who'd been working with a disgruntled board member to undermine Liam. The board acted fast, cutting ties with both, and Liam was cleared. But the damage lingered. I was still the guy in the photos, the one who'd crossed a line with the boss. At a company-wide meeting, Liam took the stage, his voice steady. "Horizon is more than a company, it's a family. We've been through hell, but we're stronger for it. I've made mistakes, but I'm here to fight for every one of you." His eyes found mine, a silent promise. "And I won't let fear or gossip tear us apart." After, he pulled me aside. "I'm stepping back," he said. "Not from you, from the CEO role. I'll stay on as a consultant, but I want a life with you, Ethan. No secrets, no hiding." I stared at him, stunned. "You're giving up everything." "No," he said, his hand finding mine. "I'm choosing everything." We left Horizon together, not as boss and employee, but as partners. I took a freelance gig, using my designs to build a name for myself. Liam consulted, his reputation intact, his passion for innovation undimmed. We moved in together, our lives intertwining in ways I'd never dared dream. The rusty anchor became our place, where we'd laugh over drinks, remembering the night that changed everything. Love wasn't easy, it was messy, risky, and worth every second. We'd fought for it. Against rumors. Against fear. Against a world that tried to tear us apart. And in the end, we won not just a company, but a life. Together. Built on the truth of who we were.